Yo, what is going on, my dudes? Welcome to another RuneScape news coverage video. For this video, we're going to be talking about one of the first projects being worked on during the Game Jam. This being the weapon type diversity. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go.
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, first off, before we get started, I do have to mention that this is a Game Jam update, so the natural caveats for any Game Jam project have to be laid out. It doesn't necessarily mean that the things we're talking about in this video will be making it into the final build of the game. These things are very early stages, still being prototyped, and are subject to change, especially with this particular design document. It's not even fully complete. So I will have a link down below for you guys to check out this design document. There will be more information, or there may be more information on it after I upload this video, so do check it out and see if anything has been added since I came out with this video. That being said, I do think that weapon type diversity, even though it is a Game Jam update, is one that's pretty much guaranteed to make it into the game. So do give your suggestions on anything in this. If you have any suggestions, do tweet. The best way is through Twitter to tweet at JagXPie, JagXShogun, and JagXIago with the hashtag RSWepDiversity. That will be the best way to get your suggestions out for them. They do have some guidelines for these suggestions, however, so I'm going to run you through them first, and then we'll talk about exactly what kind of changes are already implemented and are being worked on as well. So the guidelines for your suggestions. Weapons that are offered very early on in the game should not be heavily complex in terms of their effects. In terms of how powerful the effects can be, think of like the extra range on scythes, Chinchompas turning everything into AoE, those kinds of things. You can suggest just an effect without the type of weapon if you don't have anything you think it would go with. Try not to make the effect too complex. If you cannot explain it in one tweet, it's probably too complex to fit on an item tooltip. That's not to say that it can't be a simple effect with complex relationships to the rest of the combat system though. Please keep it to the weapon types listed below, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Make suggestions with abilities in mind rather than legacy. Types can have more than one effect, and try to think about what kind of problem your effect solves or where your effect will be used in-game currently. And finally, please try to stay on topic. This isn't a project to fix all things in combat, so do keep that in mind. Once again, tweet at JagXPie, JagXShogun, or JagXIago with the hashtag RSWepDiversity. Now let's jump into the different breakdowns of the types of effects. Some of these already exist in game, so I'm not going to really go over the already existing ones. Some of these, ModPie has not come out with any type of effect at the time I'm making this video, so keep that in mind as well. With that being said, we're going to jump into melee first. So first off, we have daggers. This is a prototype, but it'll guarantee critical hit against unaware enemies, enemies that are stunned, out of combat, or flanked. There is no suggested effect yet for short swords, so moving on to rapiers, they will have a chance to use a main hand auto attack instantly after using an ability. This is also in prototype. Moving on to hostas, they will gain access to 2H abilities when used with a shield. Very interesting. This is also being prototyped. Spears will have a stacking accuracy buff, but it'll clear all those stacks if you move, so you have to remain still. Also being prototyped. Defender, I'm not going to go into that because it already exists. They're not changing anything about defenders. Moving on, nothing yet for the scimitars, but claws will have crits that cause a bleed on a target. This is being prototyped. Nothing yet for long swords or battle axes. 2Hs will have an increased crit chance the lower the enemy health is, which would be pretty interesting. You can quickly switch to a 2H sword to finish off an enemy. That is also being prototyped. And scythes and halberds already exist in the game, and they added +1 range to all attacks, including AoEs. Moving on to maces, they have a prayer stat bonus, which already exists in game. Nothing has been proposed yet for warhammers, and mauls will have a stacking damage buff after killing an enemy. Stacks will also drop off. This is also being prototyped. So that is your suggested things for melee. We're going to head on over to magic and see exactly what we've got working over there. So nothing is suggested yet in Magic for staffs and wands. However, with the orb, it will have a chance to perform an offhand auto attack after using an ability. This is being prototyped as well. Books have no suggested effect yet at this time. Rebounder, again, that's basically just the defender for Magic, already exists in the game, so I'm not going to go over that. Moving on to the different types of spell elements. So fire will have the effect that enemies will explode in a 1/1 AoE on death. So any monster that happens to be standing on the same square will be hit for AoE damage. This is being prototyped. Air spells will have a higher accuracy but lower damage, being prototyped. Water has yet to have an effect at the time of this video. And earth will be the inverse of air with higher damage but lower accuracy, again being prototyped. So that is it for your magic weapon diversity. Moving on finally to ranged. So the short bow will deal more damage the closer you are to an enemy, which is an interesting mechanic, being prototyped. Shield bows and composite bows have yet to have any special types of effects at the time of this video. The charge bow already exists and it does not require any type of arrows. We have several different charge bows in the game. Crystal bow, Saren God bow, those kinds of things. Moving on, nothing has been proposed yet for two-handed crossbows or pistol crossbows. And the repriser again is just the ranged equivalent of a defender, already exists in game. Not going to go over that in particular. Moving on, nothing has been suggested as of yet for the darts and knives. However, axes, they'll have a chance for your ability to chain onto the nearest target for a max range of 5 squares, and can stack, but it rolls again for that chance, so it's not guaranteed to stack. That's being prototyped. Javelins will do auto damage on everything between you and your target, and also affects your target's location, so anything standing on the square of your target as well, and that's being prototyped. So it seems like javelins, you would want to attack the furthest target from you if you're in a scenario where you're fighting multiple things. And finally, Chinchampas. The effect already exists in game. Basically all abilities are AoE, specifically with the mechanized Chinchampas. And that is it for your weapon diversity. I know a lot of these weren't fleshed out yet, didn't really have an effect. So those are the kinds of things I would suggest. If you are going to give any feedback to any of the JMods, do try to find like niche roles for those specific weapon classes that we didn't have anything on for this video. However, once again, this is a work in progress. By the time you watch this, some of these areas may have already been filled out, so do check the link below to see this design document. Overall, let me know what you guys think about it. I'm gonna wrap up the video there. I'm really excited to see this kind of thing in game. I have no type of ETA. This is still very early stages, so keep that in mind. And with that, I'm gonna close out the video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Peace.